happy Thanksgiving. I guess by the time you watch this, it'll be after Thanksgiving, but for me it's the day before, so happy Thanksgiving. Obviously I am here, I'm back at home. I moved back for the semester. I just have finals next week, but they're online, so I'm here and not in my college apartment anymore. But tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so I am going to be making a pumpkin roll for Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna try and do it with like a design on the bottom. I have this paper here. It's kind of basically just a fall coloring book page. And that's the template that I'm going to be using for my design on my pumpkin roll. So this pumpkin roll is going to kind of have two different batters. So the first one is going to be what I'll use for the design, and then the second one is the main, like the actual pumpkin roll part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the design part. So to start off, I've got 3 tablespoons of butter, which are supposed to be room temperature or softened, but mine was in the refrigerator, so I just threw it in the microwave for like 15 seconds. I'm going to add 3 egg whites, half a cup of powdered sugar, and then 2/3 cup of flour. And I'm not doing gluten-free this time, I'm just doing regular. And then I'm just gonna mix all of this together. Now that this is all combined, I'm gonna go ahead and divide it between 4 different ramekins so that I can color it. So the 4 colors that I'm gonna be doing are yellow, red, orange, and then like a burgundy-ish color. So I've got my food colorings here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and add them. I don't want like a super bright yellow, so I'm thinking I might add a teeny bit of the brown just to kind of tone it down a little bit so that it's more muted and less like neon. Now that I have my 4 different colors, I'm going to put them in their own little piping bags. Now that those are all done, it is time to start decorating. So I showed you guys this earlier, but this is the design I'm using. You can really use any sort of coloring book type design, just lots of clean lines and not a bunch of weird, really fine details, because those would be very hard to pipe. But so I'm just gonna center that in my 10 by 15 jelly roll tray, baking sheet, I don't know what you call it, this thing. So I'm just gonna make sure that's all centered. And then I have some parchment paper that I'm gonna lay over the top. And then I am gonna spray this with cooking spray. First, I'm gonna do the outlines here, and then I'm gonna put that in the freezer and let that freeze, and then come back and do the inside, kind of fill it in later. Because you kind of have to work backwards here, because the first layer that you put down is gonna be like the outermost layer. So like the bottom layer is actually gonna be the top layer. This feels a little bit backwards because normally decorating is the very last step, and here it's the very first. So it feels a little bit weird for me, but I'm excited to see how this turns out. I just pulled this out of the freezer, so now I'm just gonna fill it all in. Now that I filled that all in, I'm gonna put this back into the freezer for another 20 minutes. Now it's time to start on the main part of this pumpkin roll. So I'm gonna start out with 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, and then half a teaspoon of salt. Just gonna mix all that together. And then in a separate bowl, I'm gonna put 3 eggs, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and 1 cup of white sugar. And then I'm just gonna mix all of that as well. Now I'm gonna add 2/3 cup of pumpkin and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And now I'm just gonna mix all of that together. Next, I'm gonna add my flour mixture into this wet mixture and mix all of that together. I just pulled this out of the freezer. I'm gonna go ahead and take the paper out from under it because it's probably not a great idea to put something in the oven with paper in it. And now I'm just gonna pour this batter directly on top here. I'm just gonna very carefully spread this out so that it reaches all of the edges, but I don't wanna mess up the design underneath, so. Now I'm just gonna put this into the oven at 350 degrees for 16 to 18 minutes. I just pulled this out of the oven, and at this point you wanna work fairly quickly because you wanna work with it while it's still warm. Once it cools, it won't roll up as nicely. So I have another piece of parchment paper that I'm gonna lay on the top, but first I'm gonna spray this with cooking spray just so that it won't stick. So let's place this on the top of my cake. And then I have a larger sheet pan that I'm gonna put on top of the parchment paper. Like so. And now I'm gonna hold both of them and flip them over. Hopefully. Okay. And this top pan, which is the pan the cake was actually cooking in, should lift off fairly easily. If all goes well. Cool, cool, cool. And then I'll just set this one aside. Now I'll peel my parchment paper off of the bottom here. This looks so cool! Don't stick, please. So here's what it looks like all rolled out. It looks pretty cool. Now I have this, just this thin towel, and I'm gonna put powdered sugar on both sides of this. Okay, now I'm gonna take this and lay it over the top of my cake. Like so. And then I have yet another thing that I'm gonna flip it on top of. So this is just a cutting board. I'm just gonna place it on top and then just flip the whole thing over again. Okay, and now I'll peel this parchment paper off. And now I'm gonna start at the skinny end and I'm gonna roll it up. Whoop. I'm gonna roll it up with the towel, so the towel is gonna be rolled up inside. So just kind of fold it over and start to roll it. All right, and now I'm just gonna take this and put that into the refrigerator for at least an hour, but really just until it's completely cool. So, see you guys in an hour. Here is my pumpkin roll. It's been in the refrigerator for several hours now, but I'm gonna go ahead and I've pulled it out, but I'm gonna set it to the side and get started on my frosting. This is gonna be a cream cheese frosting, which is probably my all-time favorite frosting, but since I don't do dairy, I haven't had it in a very long time, so I'm excited. So I've got 8 ounces of cream cheese, and this has been sitting out at room temperature, so it's nice and soft. And then 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter. And then I'm gonna beat these until they're nice and fluffy. Now I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And I have 4 cups of powdered sugar here, but I'm gonna add it slowly because I don't want a whole cloud of powdered sugar in my face. My frosting is all mixed and tastes very yummy. I had to try some of it, but I'm gonna go ahead and unroll my cake and then put the frosting on it. I'm a little bit nervous about this part because I don't want it to fall apart when I unroll it, but we shall see. I just have this feeling that I'm gonna try and unroll it and it's just gonna break into a million pieces and it's gonna be really sad. All right. It did crack a little bit, but this side doesn't really matter as much since I'm just gonna roll it back up. It's the other side that I'm concerned about. So now I'm just gonna spread a nice even layer of my frosting on here, and then I'll roll it back up. It cracked a tiny bit. But you can see with the design, that side looks pretty good. Then there's that guy. But you can see all the designs. I think they look pretty cute. What I'm gonna do, it'll still taste good, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up really tightly in plastic wrap and try and like keep that closed. And then as I refrigerate it overnight, it should hold a little bit better, hopefully. My roll is not quite perfectly even, but that's mainly because it's buckling on one side. So I'm gonna attempt to somewhat salvage this. Happy Thanksgiving. We have a lot of things going on in this kitchen right now, but I thought I would go ahead and hop back on here and show you guys the final product here. So here's what it looks like on that side. The other side is not as good because there's a big gash running through it, but we will serve it facing that way. I have just some milk in here. Like I said, lots of things. I have some milk in here, and I'm just gonna take a paper towel and kind of try and wipe off some of the powdered sugar. There's not a ton left on here, but just to kind of clean it up a little bit. After cleaning it up, here's what we're working with. You can see all the different colors of the leaves and all that kind of stuff. This is the really big leaf that I was wanting to put, like, I was wanting to make that on the top or on like where you could really see it, but I think I rolled it from the wrong side to have that, so it's a little hidden back there. But I'm pretty happy with how that turned out, as long as you look at it from this side and not from this side. But I'm not too worried about the big crack. It's still gonna taste fine, so it'll be great. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This was super fun. I've never made one of these before, so it was fun to try it out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.